Brilliant. So what is your name, and can you tell me a bit about your history with model making?
Indeed, I can. I'm Kenneth Clark, and my history dates back quite a long way. I would say in the early parts of childhood, I used to build a lot of models at a model railway. Later on, I expanded the railway and started making buildings and that sort of thing. My father used to talk to the clubs and things about windmills and water mills, and he noticed once that I seemed to have a knack for making models. So he gave me this task one day of making a model of a water mill or a windmill, and gave me a book with an exploded diagram, rather like an Airfix kit, of what exactly it's like. It was always a bit sort of overwhelming at first, but I got a load of balsa wood, and in the end thoroughly enjoyed making it. And my uncle, his business partner, used to give talks on Wirral buildings. Well, not so much Wirral, but Wallasey buildings. He was on in the RAF during the war. When he came home on leave, he would make note of things, and he used to give talks, as I say, and he'd give anecdotes about his journeys home during the war. Anyway, this went on to him giving talks about them at various libraries, things like that, showing slides, and he had this unique method of showing a picture of a building as it was in the 1940s, and then he'd go to the same spot again and get a newer one, and he'd show one after the other, and it was quite good. Anyway, one day I was helping him with the slides, and he said to me, "Do you think you could make a model? You've done these models for your father. Could you make one of a Wallasey building?" I said, "Yeah, sure, which one?" So he said, "How about the Tivoli Theatre on the front there?" So I thought, I'll have a go. I don't know how good it's going to be, but I'll have a go. So yeah, got down to it, and thoroughly enjoyed making it, actually. And eventually that too went to one of his talks, and I went along with it with a large tube of glue in case. And a reporter there said, "Very good model, like it, but I'm not so sure you'd be able to make something like the Brighton Tower." Maybe not, I don't know. He just laughed. I left it at that for a moment. I thought, no, I'm going to have a go at this. I didn't tell him. Didn't tell anyone, but I had a go at it, and that went along great. It was about 18 months doing it. There was no deadline. Excuse me. But I had such a great time doing it. Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. And it went down a bomb. It went into the library. I didn't build it to actually last long, because the top bit's very, very frail balsa wood. The bottom is polystyrene ceiling tiles when you used to be able to get them, and just bits of card. But it was such great fun doing it. I thought, I'd do anything of this kind of thing at all. And later on, a lady from the Friends of Vale Park, during a display, approached me and said, "Would you mind doing a model of the bandstand in Vale Park?" So only a small one, but I thought, oh yeah, great fun again. Part of the fun of these things is going around the house and finding various little items and objects that can be used as part of the model, you see, to show parts of a building. Anyway, many years later, in fact it was about 5 years ago now, Dave Wilkie, the owner of the New Palace, saw a CD with some of my pictures on it of my models, and he contacted me and said he'd like a chat with me. So I went and had a chat with him in his office in the palace, and he said, "How do you feel about building a model of the palace fairground itself?" Oh, I said, "I don't know, it's a long time since I've done any." Anyway, he was insistent, so in the end it took me about 2.5, 3 years to build this model of the palace. And what he didn't expect me to do, which took me longer, was build all the model rides and everything as well with it, So it was great fun doing it. As I say, at the moment, I'm not doing anything at the moment, but possibly in the near future I can get back to actually doing some modelling again. But that's what it's based in, my past with my parent, my father and my uncle, and just a delight of making models, simple as that.
Yeah. What would your process be then for making a model of something that no longer exists? For example, the New Brighton Tower. Do you have to do a period of research?
Yes, to a degree, depending on the building. The tower was a little bit awkward because there were, at the time, the only place you could get any information, and my father was involved as well with me, was to go to the library, the reference library. And fortunately they had quite a lot of photographs which we could copy. But there was some difficult thing about the colour of the top of the tower. And funny enough, my father actually knew someone in a nursing home, a chap, who had actually been on the demolition crew of the tower. And he said to my father, yes, I remember it. It was battleship grey, the entire tower. The very top was white. So on these black and white pictures you can tell which is which colour. So again, it was just down to various photographs in books and places like that. That's all I could do.
That's brilliant. Is there much of a model making community in New Brighton? Have you met other model makers?
No, I've not met anyone at all. I do know of the one that was in the Heritage Centre of the railway. I was, I was down there one day to see Shirley about something, and I noticed the model there. It looked like quite a good model, brilliant model. It must be, yes, Tommy Mann's Railway. I was very impressed with this, very impressed. But I've not come across anywhere at all. It'd be nice to know someone else that does models, but no, I know nothing about anybody else.
What pleasure do you get out of making models?
It's funny enough, I spoke to my wife this morning about this, and it's rather like doing jigsaws and things. You're completely occupied with what you're doing. It's very therapeutic indeed. You're completely occupied with it. The rest of the world goes out the way, and it's brilliant. And you're being creative as well. There's a great feeling in being creative. And knowing when you've done something like that, it's a great feeling of achievement. It's rather addictive, to be honest. It is very addictive indeed. But that's it. It's a whole spirit in itself in a way. You know, it's really great fun to do it, and it keeps your mind awake as well, like crosswords. You know, and it makes you think, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Where am I going to get material for this and that? It keeps you going. You know, keeps your mind active at the same time. It's very relaxing.
I think for the people who view models as well, there's just something so tactile about them that you can't get from a photo. You can
that's true.
Walk around.
You can walk around it, of course you can. Yeah, you can walk around it, look closely at it, and get it from different angles, as you say, which you certainly can't do with a photograph. Yeah, so there is that as well. And you're also bearing in mind when you're making a model that people or someone is going to want to look at it more closely or walk around it as well. So you're more careful with the detail, making sure it's correct and it looks right from various different angles.
So the New Brighton Tower model in your living room there, can you tell me how long that's existed for, that model?
That model was built in 1977, a very long time ago. And yeah, it was never intended to end up the way it has now, or even go places it's been. It was never intended for a great display. It was more or less, it was a combination of having a bit of fun, rising to a challenge, and also doing something that was new, and having great fun doing it, as I say. So, combination of three different things. I didn't plan how long it would take, but in the end it was about 2 years, I think, in the end, bit by bit. Some people would say it's very tedious, and you need patience. You do need patience, must confess. But as long as you haven't got a deadline, then it's no problem. It's a great hobby to have.
Yeah, it is. Well, how do you think new technologies have advanced or hampered the art of model making? For example, you can 3D print things now.
It's hard to say on that one, because yes, 3D printing is great in some respects. Maybe parts and models, brilliant, because you can't buy parts and models on some things. But at the same time, it also takes a bit of the fun out of it. Making something with your hand, a certain shape or size, is not, it's not the same thing when you get it 3D made. But technology in that respect is very good, provided it's used in the right way. I don't think I'd be inclined to use it though. It's more fun in actually making a part rather than having it done by a machine.
Lastly, I'd ask, have you passed on your model making talents to anyone in your family?
No, not at all. No. No.
But what would you say to children who might be interested in the art?
Oh yes, by all means, go for it. Go for it. You might surprise yourself finding that you've got an ability you never realised you had. I didn't ever intend to build models on this scale. The furthest I ever went was model railways and little buildings next to them. But until you try, you don't know what you can do, and you might get a nice surprise at the end of the day.
And what does it feel like to affix that last piece of wood or do that last paint stroke?
I can only compare it to what I've heard painters say. when they've just finished the last bit of brush stroke on a painting, a feeling of elation but also disappointment because they've finished and they can't do any more to it. So they go and start another one.
I think there's a famous quote which is a piece of art is never finished.
That's
It's just
right,
abandoned.
of course it is, yeah. Models are pretty well the same thing. There's always a little blade of grass somewhere that should be added or taken away. Basically the same thing. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's absolutely perfect.
Oh yeah, right.
Thank you very